Welcome back to Let's Talk Marriage.
Why you always got to do that? You make me sick. Guys, we are back. We are back. We are live and in effect. How y'all doing? We missed y'all so much. We really missed you guys.
The whole time that we was out, we was handling some business, translating some things, getting some things together. So we bring y'all some great platform for you guys. A lot of consideration we had to take in doing this. So we are excited about doing this.
We are very excited about doing something just a little different, just to make sure that we give you guys the best quality of what we have. We don't want to give you guys just junk. So as you guys can see, my little William is in the background back there. I don't know what he's doing, but anywho, you know that we are live. So today we have a special guest. We're going to be talking about toxic relationships and pretty much how to get out of those relationships. So we have a special guest for you guys, which is Dr. David and April Bynes. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. You made me sick. So, Dr. David and April Bynes coming on today. I want to give you a little bit about them, a little snippet about them. So, I've known Dr. David from school actually, but he does have a bio. I'm going to read the bio, and then I'm going to tell you how I know him and how my husband actually got the chance to meet him as well. So, Dr. David and April Bynes are founders of Destiny Speaks Coaching and Consulting and empowering multi-service coaching and consulting agencies that specializes in group and individual life coaching, spiritual advising and mentorship, relationship and marital coaching, and educational leadership and organizational development. Functioning together in high levels of oneness, David and April are highly motivated, purpose driven, educational, social, and spiritual leaders with over 25 years of combined experience as educators in K through 12. This is how I know him, as an educator, but not like high school. So anyway, I'm going to tell you how I know him. And higher education systems. Additionally, they have served in various capacities of traditional Christian ministries and spirituality and conciseness for 15 years. They've currently served as life coaches and spiritual advisors, mentors, and teachers to hundreds of individuals seeking leadership, personal relationship, and spiritual development. The Bynes always aim to build authentic, long-lasting relationships with clients and mentees by providing a diversity of leadership, personal and spiritual development, coaching and consulting practices and services. They're just all over the place. They do everything. I absolutely love these people. These multidimensional, gifted, dynamic, and passionate individuals strive to be real, relevant, and relational and transgenerational to a transgenerational audience with cultural, social, transform. I'm telling you, I got to read all of this because I want you to know about them. Don't play with me.
Let them explain it themselves.
No, I'm going to read it. And transformational change being the bedrock of their personal and professional practice. They have been in marital partnership and relationship for almost 19 years, in courtship for 24 years, and they have been blessed to birth one 7-year-old, highly intelligent and gifted princess. I wanted to read all of that. They sent it to me. I want to read it. Don't be a hater all your life.
Let's put them on.
I'm gonna add them on. So let's welcome Dr. April and Dr. David Bynes.
How y'all doing? Good evening. Good night.
Welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing?
We're doing good. I'm so happy that you guys came on with us today. Thank you so much for providing your expertise on this particular topic today.
So thank you for having us.
So let me show you how I know Dr. David. We were in a class, not together. He was teaching the class. What was the class about? Because I tell people that it was about racism, because we were lighting up in the class. Like, it was a lot going on.
Yeah, it was when we first started training. all of the incoming master students in the School of Social Work. So we were out of the Center for Ideas. We were training you all at FAU.
Absolutely. And he was one of the best teachers I had. Let me tell you, that class was lit. We had an amazing time, so much so that he was like, you know what? After class, come and see me. I was talking too much. I was like, I need to know. And he was just a wealth of information, and I really appreciate him. And so from that time, then I introduced him to my husband, and then we came over to visit with you guys at your church. And we just kept in contact. Like if I need some advice or things like that, I call him for different things. And he picks up the phone and actually answers, and he gives me the advice. So I'm appreciative of you just being here today.
Thank you. We're grateful to be here.
So now there's a little delay, like you guys are frozen just a little bit in the in your background. I guess I don't know if it has to pick up or whatever have you, but it's just a little bit of a delay. So, but I'm gonna ask a question, okay, and then you guys, we're gonna wait for the response, and y'all share what you have. So the question today was, what was the topic for today?
Toxic relationship. Basically, what's going on about toxic relationship? How do we come about, or how do we get over toxic relationship?
Yeah, how do we get out of these toxic relationships, and where do they actually stem from?
Yeah.
And you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this.
Sure.
You want to start
off? For me, I'm very careful about using the word toxic, first of all. I think toxic is being thrown around a lot these days. So from toxic relationships to toxic masculinity. So I first want to say that I think we have to be very careful when we're throwing around the term toxic. Because by definition, it means poison, right? Or something that can be poisonous. And granted, I understand that there are relationships that are hard relationships and things have happened. But when I think about toxic relationships, I think about those things that have happened. Or let me say it this way. I think about where two people have come together and have not necessarily been prepared to be together, right? And so in a toxic relationship, you can have anything from, trauma that has not been healed. You can have folks that are dealing with issues with what it would be called their inner child, or where they become stagnated at a certain point. You can have people that are dealing with issues of trauma bonding, and so which is why they are led to connect to the toxic people that they do connect to. So there's an array of things that can happen. And so I'll stop there and turn it over to my queen, and I'm sure we'll explore it more.
How do you guys actually deal with being in a marriage and it not turn into toxicity? Because the Bible tells us that the man is the head, and what happens oftentimes that we see is that sometimes men will, not you, baby, I'm just touching your leg.
Oh, you're not hurting my feelings.
Sometimes men will take that to the next level, and they will, overexert their authority, and to think that they have rule over the woman, and they do these different things where they haven't worked on their, like you said, inner child. And sometimes people bond together through their trauma, and then they're like stuck together, and they both need healing separately. So one of the things, like when he and I got together, we were very, I was very toxic, but he was willing to kind of help me through some different things that I didn't understand. And of course, through counseling and education, I learned so much about myself. But there are not a lot of women who are willing to do that, and there are not a lot of men who are willing to do that. So how do you work that out in a marriage where if you can see that your wife or your spouse is just toxic, how do you work that out? Do you get out the relationship? What do you do?
I believe you have to. So let's say you're already in the marriage, and things have turned where the other has become quote unquote toxic, right? So you have to within yourself come to a place of peace. And when I say come to that place of peace, you have to know what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do. We have to, first of all, we have to be real with self, right? Be true to thine own self. And a lot of times, many of the times, we are not true to ourselves. We put the other person first, right? And that doesn't work. We have to put ourselves first. And for some that may be watching, maybe say, oh, that's selfish. No, that's not selfish. Because if you are not true to yourself, if you are not healing within yourself, if you are not doing what my husband and I we call soul work, then it's not going to work. Whatever you're trying to exert in the marriage, whatever you're trying to exemplify in all of these wonderful things, it's not going to work because you have not done the work within yourself. We have to be truthful. If we are going to work with our spouse or we are not, what am I going to be willing to take? What am I not willing to take? Have we grown apart? So there is a lot of truth that has to be discovered within self first, and then it can, matriculate into the relationship. One thing that I can say about my husband, I remember I laughed when you were talking, when you quoted about the Bible, that the man is the head and so on and so forth. And I remember when we went to marriage counseling, right? Traditional pastor and everything. And he said to me, he said, well, your husband is the head and that you must submit to your husband. And I laughed about it, because I understood who I was and I understood the type of man that I wanted to be with. I did not want to be with a man. I was not going to be with a man that had to, what's the word I want to use?
Exert.
Try to exert himself over me just to prove that he is a man. So when you find those brothers that are exerting themselves and they got to continue to tell you that they a man and they the man and they this and they that, who are they really trying to convince, right? So I never had that issue. My husband would always let people know that I walk beside him. We do things together, and that has been one of the tools to our success. I can't even believe that we've been married and together for so long. But that has been truly one of the keys.
Yeah. And I are we being real tonight? Are we being real?
Listen,
Okay.
I already told you. You told me, listen, we ain't them kind of people. I said, well, let's run to Boston then. Do what you do, man. Do what you do.
Cool. So I'm gonna say this. So where I am now spiritually, I would say that we have to understand, number one, that the Bible has been written from a very patriarchal perspective. So that means it's always going to put the man ahead of the woman, right? It's going to ruffle some feathers, right? What I'm about to say. When I think about marriage, for me at this point, I now think about it from a comedic perspective, or who we were prior to this idea of what's now called Christianity. So for me, I understand that traditionally, our people, melanated folks, walked side by side. And if truth be told, the woman, if there was a head, the woman was the head. And so the other piece I would say is that one has to understand the dynamics of power, right? And I don't, as a man, I don't have to exert my power and authority over the woman, quote unquote, as a weaker sex or gender, again, according to patriarchal perspective. But what I do is because when I do that, when I feel like I have to do that, now we come into this idea where now I'm playing this game of control, exploitation, and manipulation.
So now you gotta help me out a little bit when you say that the woman is the head. What do you mean by that? Because I know, you're ruffling up some feathers. I can only imagine the comments that are getting ready to come up now as to how the woman is the head. And those of you who are just joining in, please make sure that you comment, like, and share. You can also call in to 754-303-9976. And you can speak with Dr. David or Dr. April and ask them some questions as well if you want to be online. If not, you can ask your questions on the side here and we'll put your comments on the screen. But explain a little bit more as to why you believe, because, the Bible tells us that the man is the head. Maybe you got a question?
When you think about, the comment you just made, some people will be really mad about it, but the fact of the matter is, like I always tell my wife, the Bible may say I'm head of the house, but we are head of the house together, because it takes two persons to make the house become one unit. We too busy looking at the point of who's the head of the house and not looking at how do we head this house together.
And there's controversy there, right? Because the Bible also talks about this idea of oneness, right? Or the man shall leave his mother and cling to his wife, right? So this idea that which, in our bio, we talk about this idea of flowing in togetherness or oneness, right? We've always been partners in whatever we've done, whether it was ministry, within our home. We don't have these traditional roles where, I can't get in the kitchen and clean up the kitchen. That's all left for her. And let me pause and say, I'm not going to paint a picture that we're perfect, right? Because I got a lot of work to do as a husband and father, and still helping her in terms of those roles. But I can say that we haven't carved out these traditional roles that the man traditionally does, or the roles that the woman does, or the wife does. So when I say that statement, when I make that statement, I'm saying that and we don't have enough time to dive deep into it, but folks would have to go back and study what relationship roles were like in ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, right? And then moving forward, and still today, what some of those traditional roles may be in other cultures. We got to understand that what we have been taught about marriage is from a very westernized perspective, a very Europeanized perspective. And what I tell people in our coaching and counseling is that we have to begin to understand, we got to pause and figure out what works for us, because as long as we're dealing with these Europeanized perspectives about what matrimony is, it's going to continue to cause our divorce rates to be very high, because we're now functioning through perspectives that don't necessarily work for us as Black folk.
So let me ask you this, because the comments is going to light up over here. I have a question with this. This is what I'm hearing you say. I always do this with you. This is what I hear you say, that you don't believe that there are particular roles that women or men have to per se commit to, like, because I don't cook. I tell people all the time on this show, I do not cook. I can, but he finds his happy place in the kitchen. But I clean. My house has to be, clean to a certain standard. That's just what I do. So it's not that there are roles. It's just that that's what I like to do. That's my happy place, cleaning. His happy place is in the kitchen, and we get out of the way and allow him to do those things, right? So when I say the man is the head, there are visions and things like that in the Bible, because this is the Bible that I'm reading, that God has given to the man. Because at the end of the day, this is how I see it. If somebody is breaking in this house, yes, I can, protect my house if my husband isn't here. But if he is in here, he's not going to be looking to me to protect him. I'm going to be looking to him to protect me.
But you have some men that actually look at toys, they want to protect them.
Yeah, but that's true. Right. But what I'm saying is that what are we saying with how how we're supposed to be in the home, because the man is. Do you not believe that the man
Well,
is the head of the household?
I didn't say I did not believe. I do
Oh,
believe the
okay.
man in the household, but the thing is
But
the fact that
the question,
the thing I would say is yes, but it's what role you decide to play in the house.
Mhm.
Some men prefer to clean the house, and some women prefer to go out there and work. That don't make him less of a man. That don't make her less of a woman. But the fact of the matter, long as we respect each other in that role, we are fine. When you decide to dehumanize the person because he's cleaning the house as if he's a maid, that's when we come to a problem. That becomes toxic.
So, Dr. David, I think you need to help me out a little bit more with what you're trying to say. So we're gonna listen.
I think at the end of the day, especially when we do our marriage counseling, we say that you have to, the husband and the wife and husband, whoever you want to put first, the both of you have to come together and you both set the standard of what your house looks like. So that means whatever works for your household, that's what's going to work. So what works for your household may not work for somebody else's household. That's why you have to come together in that oneness to say that we agree to X, Y, and Z. It is okay if the husband says, I'm going to be that stay-at-home dad. The wife goes out to work. That may work in someone's household. In another household, that may make the man feel a certain way, some kind of way. So whatever works, like your husband said, whatever works in your home, that is what works in your home. And I believe in my spiritual self that is blessed by God, because you two are working together for the common goal of making sure that your household runs efficiently, that it is not lacking anything. And if you have children, both of you are coming together to raise your children, and that the excellence of what God has put together is manifesting, right? So it's not a cookie cutter thing. And I believe that's how we get caught up. That's how we get caught up, because we believe that this is a cookie cutter thing, and that's not it. God, creator, releases fresh manna unto the husband and the wife of how their household is supposed to run. And that's the beauty of it. That is the beauty of it. And again, what may work for the Pines may not work for anyone else.
So we do have some comments over here. I'm telling you, it's lit over here today. Y'all on fire. So Carrie Johnson writes, whatever, he's like, right, whatever role is taken by either spouse is support. The greater point is supporting each other for a healthy balance and a healthy marriage. So I agree with that. I agree with what he's saying. I agree with what you're saying as well. So it seems like that when you're in the house and you're trying to govern your house in a certain way, there are no particular roles. But when we talk about the head, I want to dig a little deeper into what does that actually mean, because I guess I'm still stuck on that. We have another comment here. I'm gonna just put them up here. So Brother Lionel Nelson says, well, I guess Adam and Eve switched roles. What did that get us? So I don't know. Maybe you got to call in. I don't know what what that question means.
Yeah, can he expound on that?
Yes. Lionel Nelson, can you expound on your question? Also, what do we have here? Nia Johnson says, I understand the roles and what works for the house, but I'm stuck with the statement of women being the head. Yeah, that's why I'm stuck too. Okay. When you're saying that women are the head, what does that mean? Because we have people that are on here that are Bible based, and we're trying to understand that, because we've read where the word says that the man is the head, and And so Dr. Bynes is saying that the woman is the head. What does that mean? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, maybe I can, from a different perspective.
Sure.
So I'm putting on my educator's hat, right, with that differentiated instruction. So for those that where the Bible is your foundation, right? You will ascribe to the man being the head. But when we are talking about African people, right? So when my husband was talking about melanated people, African people, our spirituality, when we look at our history before Christianity, right? So going back before Christianity, before slavery, before all of that, our spirituality, when you look at Egypt, when you look at Kemet, when you look at how the government and things were ran, we look at the woman taking a major role in government and politics and all of the systems, right, that ran in Egypt. And when you look at those systems, a lot of times you find that the queens were the heads, right? They were the leaders. So maybe the lack of a better word, the head, right? So maybe we should look at leadership roles. So a lot of the time women stepped into those roles and women were leading all of those systematic things of Egypt/Kemet. So that's where he was coming from when he was talking about
you made him alone.
It is the head. And for some households, the woman is the head. You know, for those that ascribe to the Bible, because we can't, think that everybody is subscribing to the Bible and may believe that their man is the head. The man may say, well, no, dude, you the head. So again, it's what works within your household.
And that doesn't make him less of a man. I gotta put that in there. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm telling you this. My phone is even lighting up over here on the side. So I'm gonna bring somebody on. Are you guys willing to take some questions? Because they're calling in.
Come on.
Oh, yeah. She said, "Come on with it." So it's on. Are you there, Lionel Nelson?
Yes, I am.
Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to keep it plain and simple. God gave a charge to the man to lead his household. The responsibility, this is according to what I say, you can call it whatever, tradition or whatever, but I'm going to go by what the word of God says. And the man is supposed to lead, especially if he's a God-fearing man. He's supposed to lead the house, lead his house. It's his responsibility to lead his house in reverence of God. And the wife is his helpmeet to assist him in that. Now, I understand to a degree, whereas that, because I think this is where I'm not going to be a little twisted. I'm just going to be straight up with it. Now, yes, my wife and I, we understand who, in essence, we call it opposite attract. There are things that she does better than I do. She's a cook. I'm not. Can I cook to keep the heebie-jeebies off my stomach? Absolutely. I can do that. I'm more of the cleaner of the house. She's more of the cooking, and she take care of the bills. But at the same time, though, I'm going to be the man of my house, and my wife understands and respects that.
So let me ask you, Brother Nelson, what does that mean? Because there are people on the side that are asking, what does that mean that you're being the head of the household? That's what we want to get to. What does that mean?
Along with his wife now, hear me out. He is the governing authority. Because see, we should not take God out of this equation. We have to keep God in it. Because of God, because when people take God out of it, that's why we got a lot of dysfunction in marriages. But if we understand our role, we can't get away with it. I don't care how we try to color it up. If we understand our role as man and woman, and understanding that whatever charges that God has given us in that relationship, in a marriage, then there won't be no confusion. And just like, the brother said, yeah, my wife and I, we're not perfect either. I got issues too that I'm working on daily. But we understand and respect each other's role. It doesn't make sense. No, I'm going to lead my house. I'm going to lead my house accordingly, and my wife is understanding and in agreement with that. And I don't overpower her with my authority or anything of that nature. But we can't take out the equation and responsibility of what God has said and what He has already established and ordained.
All
So
right.
that's
Well,
all I got.
Let's pause for a second. Are you done with your statement? Because I see Dr. Bond, she's writing something. Sometimes we got the right to make sure that we put we can say what we really want to say.
No,
You want to hang? You want Brother Lionel to hang on here, Dr. Bond?
Yes.
I think that, I don't have anything to disagree with what Brother Lionel is saying.
Not
right?
at all.
I'm not saying take God out of it, but what I am saying is, we've got to understand where our current definition of marriage and even the definition of what it means to be head of the household comes from. And so, but Brother Lionel, even in his commentary, clearly said that he doesn't exert power over his wife, that there are some areas where he leads, there's some areas where she leads, and the ultimate governance of the home comes back to him. I would say the same thing for our household, right? And so I think the question that people are asking, I can't see it, but if they are asking, how do you define what head of household means? I think that's a very critical question, right? That I don't know that we
have from Facebook here, but let me go ahead and
that's YouTube
and log. This is from YouTube, so let me log Minister Lionel off, and then we can continue on. Minister Lionel, thank you so much for calling in.
Welcome.
All right.
And let me clarify when I say woman as the head. And so I want to clarify in terms of, I didn't necessarily say the woman is the head currently. I said that if we look back, right, over our time, we would see that the woman was, right, considered, based upon what we consider the definition to be right now, we would see where the woman's role was as one of the head or leading. Right.
See, that's what we needed you to clarify, because I'm telling you, if you can see these comments, I can't even put them. You got to say that.
But listen,
you got folks going crazy over here.
Of course, but right, and so, and I'm glad they're going crazy. But I would also hope that they would dig a little bit deeper into their own study, right? Because oftentimes what happens is that there are controversial statements made, and because of cognitive dissonance, we just shut it down. Right, we don't want anything to, deal with that. But what I would challenge folk is to dig deeper into your own study and understand where we come from as a people and how we got to where we are today. That's legitimately what I'm saying.
So somebody says that you are saying what is understood in our culture. We are more matriarchal in nature. This is Lamanda Thomas Dancer.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, family.
Absolutely. I was writing down what Mr. Lionel was saying about having a dysfunctional marriage. Okay. So, and I'm going to say it's going to ruffle some feathers, and I'm glad it's going to ruffle some feathers, because when your feathers are ruffled, that's when you think.
Yeah.
Oh, when somebody says something and it pierces you and you don't like how it's making you feel, that's when you're going to think, right? So I love it. I love the questions. I love the conversation, right? So my husband and I, we are the head of our household. We have been the head of our ministry. We have been the head of our businesses. We have been the head together. And God is in the equation, right? And so guess what? And our marriage is not dysfunctional. And we have a very successful marriage. It's not perfect. We don't ascribe to perfection, because that is not, we ascribe to excellence, right? And so we run an excellent household. We're raising an excellent child. The things that we do, we're meeting the excellence of what God has placed on the inside of us, that it can have that domino effect in every arena of our lives, right? So I just wanted to put that in there, because I know sometimes, and not saying this to Lionel, but just sometimes when people when it's not what someone may ascribe to or may be accustomed to, the idea goes to God may not be in it, right? And so I just wanted to go back to that and say, just because it may not be what's in your household or how you are doing things, it does not equate to God not being in it.
So I do have this other question here. So are we following biblical principles or not? We certainly take God out if we don't follow those principles. This is Nia Johnson asking this question here. Are we following biblical principles?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes, but I also think that that's an opinion, right? And so what that last part or last clause of that statement says that we certainly, I think basically if it can come up again, so we certainly take God out of it if we're not following those principles. So that would say that I guess marriages that are not based in Christian principle then don't have the presence of God. I would disagree with that, right? To Christians, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the belief, right? And so, so for us, we are, flowing in how we now function in biblical principle, according to what God has said and what God is doing through us. But again, that may not be to the pleasure, if you will, of others in terms of how they define their Christianity.
All right, here we go. Okay, I think I'm understanding a little bit here. This is what I hear, and I know I have to mute us sometimes so we can kind of talk, because I'm like, what are you trying to jump in? Don't be leaving me out here to hang out dry. So my question is this is kind of what I'm getting, and there's some more comments on the side. Whereas the Bible clearly states, if we all are reading what the word says, it clearly states that the man is the head. We cannot get around from that, because that's the Bible that if we're all reading that same Bible, that's what it says. But then there are times that we understand, because you have some wives that are pastors and preachers, and they go out and they go into the world and they're doing so much more than the husband may be doing. So she's leading sometimes, and then there's sometimes where he's leading. But then when it comes to the home, in my home, my husband's word is the last word. Reason being is because there's a reverence of respect for the authority that he has. It doesn't mean that he is over me, ruling over me, telling me how to do this, that, and the other, but I respect the wisdom that he has for our family and the structure and the way that it should go. My daughters and my sons, if I'm speaking and I'm saying something that is not piercing them, when he speaks as the head of our household, they move. It doesn't mean that I don't have the authority to make them do it. It just comes with a little bit more yelling, because children tend to, they can finesse their mothers a little bit more. And this is just what I've seen. There's some mothers who rule with an iron fist, but I've seen where if I come in and I say something, but when my husband says it, they move and it gets done quicker than when I can say it. And he's more stern and more firm, and he's not spanking or anything. He just can get it done a little bit faster. Is that not giving him the respect or the help me out here?
I would say this. I think we have to be very careful on how we say a lot of things, because today time, men have lost their place in this world, especially in our Black home. So a lot of men growing up acting like little boys. I hate to use that terminology, but it's factual. They grow up, don't know how to be a man, because they don't have nobody to teach them mannerism on how to grow up to be a man in a home. Men do have a place in the home that helps the plane to lift off and take off. because you had technically, if you have a pilot in the corp, you cannot have just a pilot alone. You need a pilot and a co-pilot, right? So we need both parties for the house to operate perfectly. Do some home operate just fine with just a mother in the house? Yes, it does. But then that's not leaving the son or the daughter with a good example on how to, live. And that's the big problem we have. We don't know our place in our own home because we were not taught what is our place in the home. Not saying that, oh, you got to be a breadwinner. No, but you have to know how to conduct yourself in the home. We all have our role to play in the home. How do we conduct ourselves as husband and wife? That calls us to operate to a point where we can walk out our home without no conflicts.
Bro, can I tag on to that? And I think that one of the things we have to recognize, right, is that there are men in homes or perceived men in homes who are broken, who are, not healed, right? And but we've expected them to be men when they don't even know how to be men, right? And by the mere fact that you're married to a woman does not necessarily make you a husband. By the fact that you have a family does not make you a man, right? Those are things that you have to be in a space, in a healed space, to really be able to function in those roles. But yet, when we want to only hold on to what many would call the biblical perspective, just because I'm a male identifying figure in my house, right? And I may go to church, I may be a Bible believing Christian, but if I'm toxic, what good does it do my family to continue to say that I'm the head of the household? Right?
Okay, I understand. Here we go.
and I like how you gave the example of pilot and co-pilot. I like that. So sometimes he's the pilot, I'm the co-pilot. Sometimes I'm the pilot, he's the co-pilot. And I love when you talked about, getting the kids to move. In our household, it's the opposite. Because that's daddy's girl,
Yeah, he really is smitten with her. He has him wrapped around his finger.
Daddy. And all I could do is come downstairs and lift the eyebrow. And that sister is, So again, and guess what? God is in both of our households.
Right.
We're both doing excellent things in our homes and doing excellent things with our kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Brother Kerry's question, yes, we are Bible believers, right? And again, I will be authentic and say we probably don't interpret the Bible the same way again, because for me, when the Apostle Paul is talking about, he says that the letter killeth, right? But the Spirit gives life. So for us, one of the dangers I believe in, again, what they call trigger warning, one of the dangers is that we've been taught to interpret the Bible literally and literally only, right? And Paul is clear in saying that when we do that, right, the letter or the literal, and because you put linguistics to it, so literal, when we begin to only literally interpret the Bible, right, we run into this space of killing things. But when we allow the Spirit to breathe on that and provide revelation, now we begin to understand, right, the Word of God in a different context or a different interpretation. So yes, we are Bible believers, right? But there are people who will say, well, based upon what you're saying, you're not. And again, we're not here to debate. We're just here to give our context of what our expertise is and how it has worked for us.
Thank you. And no, I don't think anybody's debating, because this is really good, because there are different perspectives on how everybody sees things. I wouldn't have you on here if I thought you was crazy. So we don't do that. But I've spent time with you, and I've listened to some of the things we've shared you know, some things before and with you and things like that. So, you know, I'm not, I hope people are not trying to, you know, go back and forth, but I can tell you what, my text messages are lit too.
But-
So I'm going to say to the people that are watching, you guys can call in, you can comment, you can like, and you can share. We'll post your question. They will answer your questions. This is not something where we're shying away from it. This is their truth. And everybody is allowed an opportunity to speak their truth. And this is for their household. That doesn't mean that we have to take on what they're saying and apply it to our home. You read your word and you get what you get from your word, and we'll read what we get from, you know, from ours as well. But it's nothing wrong with expanding and opening up and listening to others as well.
You know, the problem is everybody will expect everybody's house to run the same way, and that's the biggest issue. The problem is when you build a house, you have separate address on each household.
Okay.
So you cannot have the same address at everybody's house.
There you go.
Okay.
So what happened at 705, stay at 705. What happened at
Okay.
703, stay at 703.
Oh, look
So
at
we
you.
have to understand that every household runs completely different. The thing is, can we run it with respect and respecting each other at the point where we're not degrading each other?
There we go.
And you know something, the great thing, one of the great things about God, creator, source, provider, whatever you want to call God, is that God always speaks
Mm-hmm.
and speaks to everybody. And that's one of the things in ministry that we never try to do. We're not going to argue with you about your relationship and your conversation and your intimacy with God.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think that's another thing that trips us up as a people, as a whole, right? So it's those of you that may have multiple children, right? You know you don't deal with all of your children the same.
Absolutely.
One child is a special way. This child, you communicate with this child. There's another special way you communicate with this child. Child C, there's another special way. And that's how God views everybody. It's an intimate personal relationship. And we can't believe that we so deep in God that we can dictate what God is saying to somebody. We can't do that, but we get caught up in that. We believe that we can, but we cannot.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So we have G25 Taurus, and she says, okay, then speak on it, Ilias. I have to agree with you that each house is ran differently. And this is correct. What you're saying also, Dr. April. Everybody, you're going to do what you want to do. And it doesn't mean even that we're all doing it right. We're striving for perfection. We're striving to do these things the right way. We don't know all the avenues. We don't even know all the avenues. We have a show and we bring people on that some are more educated than us. Hey, baby. Some are, more educated than us, and they can give us more information so that we can receive sometimes just sitting here and learning from people. Sometimes we have ministers on here. There's some pastors that have been on here to help us as well. We've been married for 15 years.
Please get it right.
We've been together for 17 years, 16, 17 years. We've been together a long time.
We've been together for 16 years, been married for 15 years.
My friend the other day said we've been together for 17 years. So remember, we've been calculating. I just know I fell in love and all the numbers, everything just went where it was going to go. But we know that we wanted to stay married. I actually like him and I love him and I want to be married to him. I like this. I like knowing that I'm going to have somebody in my old age that's going to be there with me and for me, when
I look at a lot of different marriages, I see they get to their old age and they go through divorce. I'm like, why? Y'all been together for 20-something, 30-something years, and y'all decided at the end of your life to divorce each other? Like y'all gonna live? That's not living. Now you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
and bro, that often happens because we have not evolved together.
Correct.
Right? Sometimes one grows, one doesn't. sometimes neither grow, right? And they stay stuck and stagnated in the very same place, right? And so the marriage, the relational part of the marriage fizzles out, right? And so this idea of what we talk about, even with emotional intelligence, it takes great emotional intelligence to run a successful marriage for many, many years, right? But sometimes when folks don't have that emotional intelligence, right, and they don't know how to evolve and shift and even change when times change, then that's where we're going to move into the idea of divorce, right? Traditional, right? As most people. But then I would also say there comes a time where if we're mature, that we also have to be mature enough to understand that sometimes things run their course, right? And because they run its course, it does not mean that it has to end badly, right? But we can be mature enough to say, you know what? It's time for you to go your way, and it's time for me to go my way, that we might allow each other to still live very successful lives. But we know a lot of people that will stay in marriages that are quote unquote broken, and they know it's broken beyond repair.
Yeah.
But because of certain beliefs, they stay in it, right? And they make each other miserable rather than agreeing, we're going to take the mature high road here, and we're going to allow one another to go our separate ways and take the risk of now coming into a greater reality of perhaps meeting that one that will be with us, right, for the remaining days of our lives, or whatever the case may be. So all I'm saying is that we even have to, in my opinion, we have to begin to think about, you know, those aspects of marriage as well.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. I want you to speak on really quickly, because we only have a few moments here, is to speak on what trauma bonding is, because that's kind of what you explained a little bit. Speak on what trauma bonding is so that people can know what it is and what it does to a relationship.
Yeah, I think in the simplest terms, trauma bonding, right? If you take it, you know, backwards, it's bonding to those things that are broken, right, within you, or it's connecting and holding on to those things that that cause you to be in a place of funk, right? So when I think about trauma bonding, it's those things that have happened to me either early on or happened to me within certain situations or relationships within my life. And now, because I'm not healed, because I've not done my what we would call our soul work, we've not learned to heal from those things and release those things. Now, that's the very thing that I actually attract in my partner, right? And so I now, rather than, I might say, I want a good man or a good woman, right? But because of my trauma bonding issues, I'm now going to continue to attract, right, those that are broken themselves. Because there's something in me that's pulling them into my life, right? Because I'm now really functioning through the traumas that I'm still dealing with and I'm not completely healed from. And therefore, that's what's leading me. Even though I'm saying out of my mouth a different thing, right? Now my actions say something totally different.
Absolutely.
Because we've heard people say it, right? Especially sisters, I just can't seem to find a good man. I always get the wrong man. Yes, sis, because there's something in you that is not, it's attracting that. And it's the same for the men, so we, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we have to do that internal work. It is a must. We have to be true to ourselves, true to where we are, true to what our challenges are, true in seeking help, seeking that recovery, seeking that healing. But we cannot, it is impossible to have a great marriage, a great relationship, when you are not great within yourself and not great to other standards, or just again that cookie cutter standard, but great within yourself according to your creator.
Right. And you know, and since you know this from being a social worker, right? That we traditionally been taught, right, to look outside of ourselves, right, to be complimented, right, or to be valued, right. And so the only thing we're saying is that before all of that, we've got to learn how to value ourselves, how, you know, to come into a space healed. So case in point, some people would say it's 50-50, right? I bring 50%, she brings 50%, and that's going to give us 100, right? We subscribe to that it's 100-100, right? That I've got to bring the best version of who I am. She's got to bring the best version of who she is, right? And now together we begin to move right in that togetherness, oneness. So Jesus said in the Bible, right? He begins to talk to the Father. He says, help them to become one as we are one. So this concept of oneness should flow right through our marriage, right? Because God is love, right? So if God is love, then right through both of us, we should now be flowing in that love that we say is God. And so we're flowing in this idea of oneness. But if we are broken and if we are toxic, there's no way that we can begin to do that. And so what we caution folks is take some time, right? Put a pause on it, right? And let's really evaluate, are you really ready to be either one in relationship with someone, or are you ready to be married? And if not, let's take some time and figure out how we get healed so that we can come into a successful relationship or marriage.
Absolutely. I agree. These are the things that I tell my clients when they come in as well, that you have to make sure that this is something that you want to do, because marriage, in my opinion, is forever. You don't get to say divorce unless there's something, you know, extenuating that is weighing down the marriage. And then there are decrees that are given that you can divorce. But I like what G25 Torah says. She likes that you said that you have to do your work. You have to do your soul work, your self work, your solo work. You got to do your own work before you go into any relationship. I believe before you get married, you should do your work. If you haven't done your work, when you get into the marriage, it's going to make you do something. So,
because you know, I always say it at work. When I'm at work, I tell people all the time, how do you expect God to give you your best, give you His best, when you haven't given yourself your best?
Yeah, very good.
That's good.
I like when you talk, like when your voice get deep like that. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. Well, I want to. We married 17 years, 16. I got to look at the certificate.
15 years been married.
We grown.
So we're gonna go ahead and end it.
We can't go off Teddy P song. That's 70-30 and 60-40. No. We got to, and nobody makes you complete.
Correct.
I agree with that.
Compliment.
Correct.
That. Nobody completes you.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But so we want to give you some last comments or concerns that you want to share with everybody, and I'm going to let everybody know who we have coming up going forward. But first, I want to just say thank you for coming on and just sharing your experiences with us and just your expertise. We just appreciate you coming on here and sharing that with us. So I'm just really thankful. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure, and it was an honor.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
And for us, again, we don't subscribe into this place that we know the best of everything for everybody, right? We are a work in progress like everybody else, but we also stand firm on what we know that God has given us.
Absolutely.
And so we move in that direction, and we ascribe to it, right, unapologetically. And so, it's our truth, right? And so we stand in that. And so we thank you all for the invite. We thank everyone for their comments, right? Even where we disagree, because again, for us, You know, it's not always that we got to agree, right? To say that iron sharpen iron. For us, we even understand that even in opposite opinions, right, or opposing opinions, that can be iron that helps us, sharpen, what we're working with. And so, we definitely receive that. Our greatest thing is that whatever it is we do, that we can do it in love. Period.
Amen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and sign you guys off so I can just share with everybody what we have coming up next. Again, thank you for coming on. Don't hang up, so just hang on just a second. And hey, baby, she really wants to come on. Let the world see her.
Let me let her in here.
All right, sis, go ahead.
All right. So hang on a second. Don't hang up. So we'll get back with you in just a second. Hang on a minute, okay?
Got it.
All right. Woo, thank you guys for everybody just being here and listening to us here on Let's Talk Marriage. I hope you guys like our new background. Well, it's not new. I mean, it's my house. All I did was just clean up and put some stuff up. But we had to get a better mic and some different things like that for you guys. And we also needed to go into prayer about this, and if we wanted to still continue with this. But as we continue on, we see that it's needed, and that people they want to share. They want to talk about what's going on in their lives, and they want more information. So this platform is just for that. With that being said, we do have. You want to say something, man?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so with that being said, we have coming up next Marie Porter. She's going to be talking about finances on March the 27th, and then on April the 3rd. We have Jessica L. Yates, Esquire. She'll be coming on April the 3rd. And then towards the middle of April, we'll have on again my husband's uncle, Uncle Raymond Carvel. So he'll be coming on again because he's going to be, election time is coming up, and he's going to be talking about the election and the seat that he's running for. So with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure that you like, comment, and share. And you can always call into the show. We have all this new stuff, and it works really well, as you guys can see. Lionel Nelson was able to call in and share his concerns and comments. And you guys have been doing like really, really well. And we appreciate all the love and support that you guys have been giving us, the comments that you guys have been sharing with us off screen to help us as well.
Our main goal is to help everybody to understand their place in their home. We going to go further and go out in life, but why not? Why do we have to do it separately? We could do it together. Yeah. As they say, men don't have an outlet, women don't have an outlet. Marriage do not have an outlet.
Oh, so we maybe we shouldn't say that just yet. We'll tell y'all about that later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got something coming up and brewing a little later down the line. So after we do our vow renewal. So,
I do.
Oh, you do? I do again too.
Okay.
So we've been married for 15 years and we've been together for 17 years.
I'll let that slide. Yes, 17 years.
All right, guys. If all hearts and minds are clear, thank you again, for joining Let's Talk Marriage, and we'll see you guys next time.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.